Welcome to the Retired Athlete Mentality Podcast, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of former collegiate athletes who have transitioned from the competitive world of college sports to the grueling but rewarding world of endurance racing. Each episode, we bring on athletes who have gone from courts, fields, and tracks to marathons, triathlons, and even ultras. School's back in session. Welcome to the show. What's up, y'all? Welcome to the Retired Athlete Mentality Podcast. I'm your host, Jamal from Running State University. And on the first ever episode of the show, we have Sierra Morris, aka the Shattered Runner. And let me tell you a little bit about Sierra. In high school, Sierra was a multi-sport athlete, which gave her the opportunity to compete at the college level. Sierra played rugby at Marist College, and by her senior year, she was the team captain, finished the season as MVP, and made the Tri-State All-Conference team. For many, college is the last stop, but not for Sierra. Over the years, Sierra took many opportunities that led her to playing professionally and placing third in the 2006 Club Sevens National Championship. After completing her rugby career, she took up endurance running, where she continued to compete on a high level, competing in 8 marathons to include 2 major marathons and hold 2 trail race course records. Sierra, let's talk about your retired athlete mentality. How have you been?
I'm doing well. I'm super excited to be here. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm honored to be your very first guest. This is there's a lot of pressure, but I love pressure, so I'm excited.
Good. Yeah. I know you love pressure. I've seen what you've been doing, and pressure is nothing to you. So let's get started. So you sent me some info, and so if I read this right, you didn't play rugby in high school, right?
Correct. Yep. So I started my freshman year of college.
Okay. And can you tell us a little bit about how you went from high school soccer and basketball to rugby in college?
Mm-hmm. So my plan growing up was to play soccer in college. Throughout middle school and high school, I did the school teams, and then I did club teams. So I played soccer all year round, and then kind of supplemented that with basketball. And I did track for like a year, softball for a year, just trying things out. But soccer was really my thing. And so it had to have been either sophomore or junior year of high school. I had an unfortunate experience with a coach who just kind of killed my love for the game. He just did not believe in me. I was the keeper in soccer, so it's kind of a limited position anyway. You're not getting a whole lot of playing time if you're not there. And at that time, I was traveling an hour, a couple days a week, one way to practice on top of school and other sports. And so I really just fell out of love with soccer. I had already done like some college visits and some camps and stuff. But after that experience, I told my parents that I wasn't interested in playing soccer anymore. I wanted to enjoy college. And it felt like at the time it wasn't really in the cards to play at the collegiate level, at least in soccer. So I picked Marist College because I loved the campus. It was just a couple hours from home, so far enough away to be like out of, the hometown, but not too far away from everybody. And they had a really good program for what I wanted to go to school for and get my bachelor's degree. So I chose that. And pretty much right away, I looked at either walking on to just joining the rugby team or the crew team. And I chose rugby.
Nice. And so you ended up choosing rugby. What would you say the biggest challenge was not ever playing rugby? What was the biggest challenge that you found making that transition your first year?
Because I had never ever played, getting to know all of the rules, all of the mechanisms and ways to throw the ball, kick the ball, catch the ball, like everything pretty much. I remember distinctly having a really hard time passing because it's so different than any other kind of, not a football throw. It's not a basketball pass. It's not a baseball throw. It's something completely different. And I've never done that before. It's kind of like an underhand, like side motion.
Yeah, it's hard.
So yeah, I remember my coach multiple times telling me that you're passing the ball like a basketball, and that's not how we do it here. And so I think that was like getting the old habits that I was practicing for years and years with basketball specifically. And then with soccer, the little things like you always want to pass the ball forward in soccer. But in rugby, you have to pass the ball backwards. So it's just the little things that were very different from the other sports that I had played were definitely the biggest challenge in my first year.
Yeah, that's definitely a tough transition. I've held a rugby ball and it's round and oddly shaped. Playing football it's similar, but you hold it a lot wider. So it's weird to handle if you've never done it before. So that's funny that you wanted to be a basketball player on the rugby field.
Yeah, it was just an automatic. My hands wanted to pass the rugby ball like a basketball.
Right. And so when you got comfortable, what would you say your mindset was as a player playing rugby? Were you the loud, motivating type of teammate, or were you the teammate that was, lead from the front, do as I do?
That's a great question. I think looking back at my first couple of years, it took me quite a while to build the confidence and the physical skill to be like a starter and someone on the field who was confident in not only leading the team, but just playing in general.
Yeah.
So I think my first couple of years, it was more gaining confidence and really soaking in everything and practicing and really like throwing myself into it and truly loving the sport because it was new, it was different, it was challenging.
Yeah.
And then as I got comfortable, I think I was more of a like lead from the front. We would always, before every single game in our warm-up circle, go around and say our goals for the game. And some of them were, more motivational for people. One of mine was always to not walk at all the entire game. So most of the games are 80 minutes. I'm playing all of it. I want to be moving. I want to be running the entire time. Rugby is not like football where when there is a tackle, it stops play. Rugby continues play unless there is some kind of infraction or penalty. So that was always something that I wanted to do. And it felt like that was leading by example, but then being a little more vocal about it. By my senior year, I think I saw myself as someone who was energetic and wanted to share my love for the game with everyone. I think college rugby has changed a little bit since I've played, but when I played and all throughout my 4 years, at least in college, most people start when they're freshmen. So they have no prior rugby experience. And so that was something that I wanted to provide the rookies or the new people on the team, that kind of encouraging space to get excited about it, learn about it, and be okay to make mistakes.
Yeah, that's really cool because I don't remember growing up seeing rugby played recreationally, in the middle school, high school time frame. So yeah, it makes sense that when you get to college, there's a rugby team and you try out for the very first time. And so that's super cool that you were able to take, young athletes under your wing and teach them a little bit similar to how you were when you first got there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So before we shift gears, you told me about your accolades. Can you take a second to brag about, your statistics while you were there?
I can't remember exactly what I wrote down, but while I was at Marist, I was lead scorer my senior year. Like you said, MVP, captain. I was invited to, after that year, my spring semester of my senior year, I was invited to play with like the next level. It was more of like a semi-professional level team in a tournament. down in Atlanta. So flew down and played with them. And then got a couple invites to play more full-time in the sevens game. It's a little bit of a different focus than like the college 15s game. But that was really cool. I ended up playing with the American Rugby Pro Training Center for the summer, lived down in Arkansas. All of us had a house and we just trained. We would have 2 or 3 practices a day, including strength training, and lived like a professional athlete. And at the time, it was one of the pathways to like the Olympic sevens team.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's changed a little bit since then. But we were a pretty good team. It was fun. It was a lot more intense than the college level, but really, really cool to be part of that. And went to Colorado for the championship, for the sevens nationals, and placed 3rd there. And then I went to grad school and played a little bit with the Knoxville team when I went to the University of Tennessee for grad school. Got invited to play with USA Rugby South for a couple tournaments, and then just went professionally into my career. Kind of left rugby behind, but like you said, picked up running. And fun fact, now I work at the University of Alabama and coach the women's rugby team here. I'm the assistant coach.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we just finished my 2nd fall season.
That's awesome.
And it's been fun to like get back into it. And
yeah,
it's cool because I love rugby, but I also love running. And all of my players now like know that I love running, and they are always asking me like, how can I run more, or how can I get better at running? So there's so much overlap, which is really cool.
Yeah, perfect. And honestly, one of my favorite sayings, I did not go to Alabama. I have no ties to Alabama, but one of my favorite college saying is roll tide. So that's a plus.
Yeah, it's fun to say. It's taken me a little bit to get used to it. You know, growing up in New York, didn't know how big Alabama like football was, but it's definitely huge. A fun environment.
Yeah. Any random person on the street, I'll just say roll tide.
Yeah, and usually they'll know what to say.
Exactly. Awesome. Well, yeah, that's awesome. Coaching is a really cool experience. Working with young athletes is really awesome. But it's cool to see that you are still able to, do endurance running while you're doing that. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us what your relationship with fitness was after, you were playing in college and professionally? It's very structured. And so you go to life on your own and it's a little bit different. So how did you cope with life on your own, with work, and setting up your own schedule?
Mm-hmm. So as you might guess, fitness has been important to me in my life for pretty much my entire life. I grew up like skiing. My dad was a really big cyclist. And so I had seen him, racing with his team and cheering him on. And so that was something that was always really important for me. It was never a question of like what I should do in terms of like starting a fitness regimen. But like you said, it's the timing, making sure that you're not doing too much, and that you find that right balance between work and fitness and having a social life and everything else that you want to do. So when I graduated grad school, I worked at Fort Bragg doing like resilience training and performance enhancement for soldiers and families. And it was really important for me to like have an apartment gym. And like it was cool because we got to be part of their like PT in the morning.
Yeah.
So it has always been a really important piece of my life, and having a background in education in sport and performance psychology, you're always working with athletes or like high performers. So you kind of have to be at that level too. One funny story, I wasn't really into running. I would do like maybe 3 to 5 miles here and there throughout the week. Plus lifting, I did a lot of lifting. But when I was working at Fort Bragg, I was working with one specific unit, and we had planned out this mental skills training throughout one of their like obstacle courses. And so the leader of this group was asking, can you come out at 5 a.m. and we'll run the course and we'll talk about it, we'll game plan. And I couldn't say no, but I was a little nervous. And so I remember meeting him at 5 a.m. with one of my coworkers, and he was, I don't even know what pace we were going, probably like an 8:30. But he was talking the entire time, super relaxed. And I'm like dying, can hardly get a word out. Just doing whatever I could to survive and keep up and act like I'm totally fine. And so, it was it's always been like around my life, fitness and everything in general. So I did, like I said, a lot of lifting, and a little bit of cardio here and there. And then when COVID happened and the gym shut down, I just did like apartment loops like around my parking lot, because that's lit like and like else. Yeah, exactly. It's not a unique story, but and like body weight exercises here and there, but that was never really consistent. And then just started running more and more because I wanted to be outside and I wanted to see if I could run a half marathon, and then it kind of have progressed from there. But
it's funny to hear how many people just wanted to be outside during COVID and just started picking up running. It's incredible. It's funny because on my side of it, I had run a few halves and had a buddy who'd run a couple fulls, and I was like, okay, let me train for a full marathon. And I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know about fuel. I didn't know anything. And I did my longest run before COVID had hit was like 15 miles, and it was in LA while I was traveling, and it was terrible. And then COVID hit, and I was like, thank God. I was like, oh God, thank you for ending my running career. And I'd never want to do this again, but here I am now running marathons just like you.
You can't stay away.
No, you can't. And so would you say COVID was your spark to do endurance racing?
I think so. I think I don't think it was a conscious choice. I'm trying to reflect back on the moment I decided to run a marathon. I remember I decided to do a half marathon, I think in 2021, the very end of 2021. And had like done a little bit of training, but nothing like really serious. And then I think after I finished that, something like the seed was planted that made me think, what if I had trained like really well, and what if I did a full?
Yeah.
So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, the what if will get you going for the rest of your life. What if I do 4 days instead of 3, or 5 days instead of 4? What if I strength train with heavy weights, or do more running focused strength training? So it's the drive in us that keeps us going to see if we still got more in us.
Totally. I love that unknown, but also seeing what I'm capable of, or generally what people are capable of if they just try.
Yeah.
Because we're all choosing to do this. And if we don't do what we want to do, or if we fail, there's really nothing that we can lose, which is also a great thing.
Yeah. And so, as we talk about your mindset while you're doing endurance running, would you say that you're competitive with yourself or with others? How do you still, scratch that competitive itch that is not there anymore with team sports?
I would say that I'm competitive with myself and with others. I'm going to say both. I think the team aspect has definitely instilled a competitive nature in myself with others. I also love that competition with myself and seeing what I can do, what I'm capable of. Just like we're talking about, what if I ran a 100-miler, or what if I, went out and did something crazy? Like, how would I, not necessarily to like go and win, but I am, that person who is like counting the people ahead of me too and seeing, hey, like, am I close to, overtaking these runners? But I'm more of the curious in the way of, how am I going to react? How am I going to respond to these challenges? So I feel like there's so many things that we think are our limits, and then we end up, pushing past those limits, and you never know what your limit is until you go out and try to get past that. So I love doing races. I like the challenge of knowing that I'm probably not going to win, but in certain races or certain aspects, like especially trail racing, I started trail racing in some smaller races locally, and that's kind of been fun because they're really hard personally. Because so you can have that personal challenge, but then I've also made it kind of my goal to beat I don't know if you've ever looked on Ultra Sign Up, but Ultra Sign Up, you can see everybody who's registered for the event, and then it'll rank you based on your previous races. And so I'll look at that, and for some reason Ultra Sign Up they expect me to do worse than my competitive nature is always like beat Ultra Sign Up predictions and stuff like that. Yes, exactly. Like, let me show you.
Yeah, that's funny because I have not done an ultra, but my understanding of the ultra was like it's and I believe this, it's a great community. We're not out here looking at times. We're just trying to, enjoy our space. But that sounds like it does get a little competitive in the ultra world. So that's interesting to hear. Yeah,
and I think that if people are competitive, they would do that. I'm not sure if it's just me. I am just getting into that space. I've done more trails, but they've been shorter than the ultra distance. So I think that's my plan for next year, but getting into more of the ultra space. So we'll see.
Yeah, that'll be fun. So with your, endurance racing career, what would you say is your biggest surprise or something that you've learned about yourself, doing these races?
I think the biggest surprise would be, since we're talking about teams and that support, and sort of that competitive nature, I think a lot of people talk about endurance sports or running in general as being pretty individual. Mm-hmm. While it is, the team aspect that I've found since I moved to Tuscaloosa just a couple of years ago has been a huge surprise. So before I moved to Tuscaloosa, I was running solely on my own. Right before I moved to Tuscaloosa, I found a running partner, but I was not comfortable running and talking. And so I would just ask her questions and she would answer and end up talking the entire time while I was just trying to breathe. And so coming here and finding like the racing team that I'm on through Fleet Feet, Tuscaloosa, and then other just like racing, running groups, the team aspect, the community, of course, miles just fly by if you're running with somebody.
Yeah, it's so much better.
The capacity of my lungs, I think, has gotten better because now, my fitness has gotten better too, but just being able to talk and run at a pretty fast pace for me has been something that I wasn't expecting. And so I think that was one of the biggest surprises that has come out of running in general for me, or in the endurance space. That's really, I love it. I think it's something that I want to be around forever. And then I thought there was a second part of your question.
No, I think that covered it. I'm actually excited to hear a little bit about your Fleet Feet experience. So is this a kind of open to the public thing, or is it you have to hit certain times. How's that been?
So, I don't think there are specific times. The owner of the Fleet Feed store here had invited me to join the team for the first year that he was having it. I think they had opened the year before I moved here, and then I went to a couple of just general group runs for the community and started like getting into that aspect of running with other people. He had followed me on Instagram and had just invited me to talk about the possibilities of starting a racing team and it being more of a team aspect where you come every single week and it's just your team and you have speed workouts and certain like specialty either events or demos or certain things that, it's not part of the general population.
Yeah.
But it's not so closed off that you have to have specific times. I don't know if that's something that he would want to do in the future, but it was like an application. If you weren't invited to participate, it would have been like an application and like a selection process. And so we meet every week early in the morning and it's really cool. It's super fun to like support everybody. And we're either all training for the same race or training for different races. And you have that extra aspect of you're all working really hard together, especially because it's a speed workout.
Yeah.
So it's just like a team sport where you're all like pushing yourself hard for that time that you're together. That just really bonds you together.
Yeah, it's funny that you've continued to find teams post college, post professional. Now you're on a running team that you just strive for team aspects, and it helps you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely made me appreciate being just in general here in Tuscaloosa a little bit more. Like I love it more because of the team.
Right. And so we've talked a lot about, running races, being on a team, but tell us a little bit about, how you balance all of it. You're doing a lot of great things, running a lot of races, running a lot of miles. I remember seeing on Instagram you were doing, I'm not sure how many, but a bunch of 100-mile weeks to get through training. But tell us a little bit about how you balance that because it's not easy.
Yeah, so I wish I was doing 100-mile weeks, but I was doing 80-mile weeks.
80-mile. Okay, so, sorry, I had it wrong.
Yeah. I wish I could. Maybe in the future.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But
I don't doubt it.
Yeah. So I've definitely been caught up a couple times, either saying yes to too many things or putting too much of like ambitious expectations on myself and on my plate. And so I've definitely learned over time when I need to take rest, when I need to pull back, and that it's okay to say no to certain things, especially if they don't fit into my bigger goals, my race plan, or if certain other things that are important to me are not getting as much attention as they need to. So through time and failing a couple times or learning from different experiences, I think that's been really helpful to know how to balance it all. Goal setting is a huge thing, of course, for me, and it should be for everybody. Just getting really specific on big goals, but then small milestones or process goals that help me, check in and break down that bigger goal, making sure that my actions are aligned with those goals, so that I'm not losing myself. And then, 3 months later, I look up and I'm like, wait, where am I? I'm not even on the path anymore to my goal. And I'm working on something else now. And then really being true to like, not just my goals, but also to my values and like who I am. So I try to be present in everything that I do. And so if I have too much on my plate, and I'm thinking about one thing while I'm with somebody else, or I'm just not able to focus and be present and give 100% of myself to the thing that I'm doing at the moment, that's another cue to say, okay, let's realign my priorities. Let's
Yeah.
see what I'm lacking in, what I need to focus on, and how I can balance a little bit more everything that I'm doing.
Yeah, that's a lot of really good points, a lot of really good pointers, and you kind of got into what I was going to ask next. So, from your point of view, what advice would you give, people who are coming from collegiate sports that are, graduating, getting into their first job, trying to figure things out with life, friends, family? What advice would you give them going into endurance running, endurance sports in general?
I think as collegiate athletes and high performers, we have high expectations for ourselves and tend to be on that toward that perfectionist mindset or
Yeah.
mentality. And so, really learning that it's okay not to be perfect. It's
Yeah.
okay to, especially if you're just starting out with endurance, you're not going to be the best. And if you're used to being the best on your college team um, or anything like that, like you give yourself a little bit of time to to start learning again. One of the most fun things I think about getting into a new sport is learning all the little nuances and seeing that
Yeah.
progress. And you talked about like nutrition and sleep and strength training and like, what if I did this? What if I did this? Like being curious
Yeah.
and learning and trying to soak in all that information like you're a newbie again.
Yeah.
That can make it kind of fun and interesting. So you don't feel like you went to college, you had a great team experience or a sport experience, and then now everything is different where you have to have your
Yeah.
job and you have to be self-sufficient and you have no team aspect or no physical
Yeah.
activity like regimen or routine at all. So making it fun and interesting and knowing that it doesn't have to end, I think is probably the biggest piece of advice that I would give somebody because it can be really cool and you never know where it could lead you. You never know what you're going to learn through endurance sports or like putting yourself through those challenges and who you're going to meet along the way.
Yeah, I would definitely second that. There's so many ups and downs post college out of that structured life that you just got to figure it out and continue to learn. That's a big thing for me, just learning new things, whether it has to do with running, learning new things, whether it have to do with my job, just learning new skills recreationally or professionally. It just continues to keep you moving forward and it helps, keep that drive going. But with that, I know what's next for you. Do you want to share, with the people what's up next for you in the world of endurance running?
Sure. So I am on week 11 of my marathon training for Houston, which is in the beginning of January. So I haven't officially announced my goal yet, but I am soon. So
Yeah,
I'll do it today too.
nice.
And so I'm hoping to go sub 3
That's what
in
I'm talking about.
Houston. And then from there, hopefully use that to get into New York and then
Yeah,
do 100, get in more into ultra running and work up to 100 miler.
that's awesome. I believe in you. I am excited every time I see you running. It just inspires me to go back out there and get some more miles. I think you are the perfect person to break 3.
Thank you. I appreciate it. If it doesn't happen, I'll do it again. I'll try again. But
That's right. I know you will.
I'm feeling ready for it. So
Yeah,
thank you so much.
that's awesome. Well, Sierra, it's been such a great conversation. I couldn't have asked for a better first episode with, your professional career, your collegiate career, your post college career. It's been amazing. I'm super stoked to see, what you do moving forward. And before we, wrap it up, where can people connect with you, follow you, learn from you? Where can they reach you?
So I am on Instagram at Shattered Runner. I do a lot of like mental skills, tips, and tricks. Share my training journey. Try to be a little more motivational and kind of funny with my content. Hopefully, it translates. And then I also have a podcast where I talk to marathoners and ultra runners about their mental skills training and what skills and techniques they use from the mental side in one of their recent races. So the Run Shattered podcast is on Apple and Spotify.
Yes, it is a good podcast. I just listened to your episode with your mom and how you ran with her and your sister, and you run your goals are way faster than what they're running, and you ran the whole way with them, and that was a super cool episode to listen to. So it was awesome. I second that. Go listen to it. It's a great listen. There's a lot of great people that you bring on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much. This was great. I'm really excited to hear your next guests and looking forward to seeing where this takes you to.
Absolutely. Awesome. This has been awesome. Thanks for coming on the Retired Athlete podcast, and we will talk soon.
I appreciate it. Thanks.